Hey guys, my name is Tiffany and welcome back to another long-awaited video that you guys have been wanting for. And I'm sorry I haven't done a sit-down video in so long with you guys, but I wanted to do a little chit-chat, kind of giving you guys a life update, where I've been at, and also mostly talking about my graduate experience getting my Master's of Science degree in nursing. And so let's get started. 'Cause anywhere you feels right, anywhere you feels like Paris in the rain. So I do have some notes on my phone that I'm going to be referring back to. So if you guys see me on my phone, that is what it's for. So I made some notes and kind of going to dig a little deep and talk about the nitty-gritty of the experience and also just overall what I thought about it. So let me share with you guys first some little background about me for those that don't know. 2 years ago, when I finally decided to go back to school, I decided that I wanted to get my master's in nursing education to be a nurse educator one day. And so I've done videos on that, talking about that. And so I'm going to leave it up in the cards above and also in the description for you guys to check out those videos. But basically, fast forward 2 years later, I am finally done with the program. And really the decision that made me get to this point is pretty much, this is my passion. I love teaching. I know I haven't done videos with you guys in a while, but it's truly what I enjoy doing a lot. And so I thought I would get my master's in it. Hopefully that I can get a full-time position as a nurse educator one day, but right now I still currently work bedside, and I kind of do a little here and there of some educational teachings at my current hospital. So that's kind of where I am right now. And so let me kind of talk to you guys about my process into going to grad school and the little information about that. So it was super important to me when I was doing my research about grad schools that for me it was flexible. So pretty much I wanted it to be fully online if possible, and that it was flexible with my schedule because I still work full-time as a bedside nurse. And so I wanted to make sure that I had the flexibility to still attend classes and that I didn't have to go drive in person somewhere because it would be really challenging for me to fit in my schedule. So the next thing for me is the most important thing, tuition. I didn't want it to be extremely expensive, just because I spent so much to go to nursing school that I didn't want to go to school where it's gonna cost me an arm and a leg. And so I wanted to make sure it was also affordable for me because I was paying completely out of pocket, 100% my own money. My hospital did not pay me to go to school. I know some places do, so definitely make sure to check in with the current hospital you're working at because some of them will actually fully reimburse your tuition. But for me, that was not the case. So I wanted to make sure that I could actually afford paying for school as well as my, of course, daily expenses. And so it was super important to me to find a school that wasn't extremely expensive either. So those are the two main important things for me, to be honest, was pretty much flexibility and also the cost. And so I did a little bit of research on different types of schools that were mostly based online. And the one that I ended up going with was actually Chamberlain University, which is a Chicago-based school. They also have campuses, and so they do have one in California where I'm based in Sacramento, but it is still far of a drive for me. But anyway, I pretty much did my entire program online except for the last portion of my clinicals, which I will talk about towards the end of this video. But yeah, so I wanted to make sure that it was possible for me to do everything completely online, and Chamberlain pretty much fit all the criterias that I needed, which is that I was online based and that the tuition wasn't extremely expensive. And the great thing about Chamberlain, and the reason why I decided to go with them, is that they actually had a scholarship for those doing nursing education. So the scholarship that I was able to get was actually a scholarship of $3,480 for the duration of the 2 years. And so basically they gave me that money if I completed the program within 2 years. If I actually shortened the program, then I wouldn't have gotten the scholarship. So I was like, I'm not in any rush. I do want the scholarship. And so I did it in 2 years. So basically the total program was 36 credits. And I basically spent about $23,400 for the whole program, which was for the 2 years. And I know for some people that does seem very expensive and pricey. I know there's a lot of schools that are probably a lot cheaper, but I wanted to do this program just because I've heard good things about Chamberlain University. And after I share my experience with you guys, I'm going to kind of share with you why I thought it was so worth it for me. Okay, so now talking about my experience with the program. So like I mentioned, it is fully online based, and so you can go at whatever pace you want. So the great thing about the program that I loved was that it was actually really towards what I was interested in. So I love teaching education. And so I think everything that I learned was relevant to what I wanted to do in the future. Like, for example, there was one class that we took that was focused on curriculum building. So I felt that the content was actually useful towards the things that I would do in the future. So I actually enjoyed a lot of the classes that I did. And so pretty much what our class schedule would look like is that we were in class for 8 weeks, and I do one class every 8 weeks. And so it was super easy to manage, and pretty much they would put the whole list of all the assignments that were due and all the papers that were due for the 8 weeks. So you could pretty much see everything that's due for the whole 8 weeks. So if you wanted to, which I would do sometimes, especially if I knew I was going on vacation, I would kind of get ahead of my assignments. And that way I got it fully finished. And then all I had to do was just submit it on the day it was due. So yeah, it was pretty easy for me to manage. And honestly, I was able to work full time. I was able to do my personal interests and hobbies outside of work, doing school, and also traveling at the same time. And so it was extremely flexible for me in order to do that. And the great thing about Chamberlain too is that they were so kind. If there was any situations in your life where you couldn't complete assignment or you had some family issues or anything like that, they were extremely accommodating to your needs. And if you needed a deadline extension, they were so accommodating to that. So luckily, because of its flexibility, I never had to really request for any extensions, but I know it's possible for you to do that. So I really like that they truly cared about their students and really wanted us to succeed. My class size usually would average probably about like 10, 15 students, and we didn't really have to see each other face to face. We never had to do Zoom calls or anything like that. It was pretty much weekly discussions. And so we'd have to post an answer to the topic question for the week. And then we had to respond to another student. And so usually what would our schedule look like is that every single week we had a discussion topic. So you had from Monday to Wednesday to put in your answer. And then from Wednesday to Sunday, you had to respond to another student. So they really had us be able to discuss with each other, but we never had to interact face-to-face or anything like that. And so I liked that a lot because then it really did get us to engage with other students, but we can also do it on our own free time. And there was no pressure to have to like log in at a certain time or join in a Zoom call or anything like that. So if anything too, if you needed to discuss anything with your professor or you had questions or concerns or anything, you can easily reach out to them through email. And so I like that I can also be able to even text some of our professors. Some of them gave me their phone numbers and I can text them if anything. But honestly, it was very easy to navigate the whole system, and I didn't really have complications with our assignments for the week. It wasn't anything that I felt was extremely out of reach to do. So I really liked the content that we learned, and I felt like the discussion topics were also relating to things that we learned as well. And then so also we were able to interact with other students, but not have the pressure of having to really communicate in a sense where you have to like talk to them directly face to face or anything like that. So that's one of the pros that I liked about the program, is truly its flexibility. Communication with professors was super easy, and also the content I felt was relevant and wasn't just something that I probably wouldn't use in the future. And it was actually content that I enjoyed as well. So I pretty much felt like everything that I learned, I actually enjoyed, versus in nursing school, you kind of just learn because you need to learn the content. And basically, a lot of things I learned in nursing school doesn't really apply to me anymore because I work in the NICU now. So I don't really do adult-based things, and that's pretty much a lot of what we learned in nursing school was towards the adult world. So I feel like now, since my specialty for my master's was on nursing education, a lot of it is relevant to pretty much what I probably use in the future. So I think those were pretty much the pros of the program, and now I'm going to be talking about the cons. So now going on to the cons of the program, I don't really have a lot of cons, but I do want to mention a few things. Is that the price? One, yes, it could be a little pricey. I've seen other programs that were a lot cheaper, but to me, I felt that it was worth it, and I enjoyed the program a lot. So I felt that it was worth it in my opinion. But also a con I think is pretty much it is all 100% writing based, and so you're writing a lot of papers, you are answering discussion topics, And so if you are not a great writer, then this program is going to be definitely a lot challenging for you. For me, I love writing and I have no problems with writing. And so I think I was able to do a pretty smooth job throughout the whole program, that I never really struggled. But I know for some people who are not strong writers that this is definitely going to be very challenging for you. The second thing is that it is extremely research-based. Pretty much in every paper and assignment that we do is all based off of research. So you're gonna be doing a lot of APA formatting, which I know not a lot of people like to do. And so it's gonna be a lot of research and writing, and not a lot of people are interested in that. So I can see how that can also be a challenge for some people as well. And lastly, I think the con would be having to find your own practicum site. So now I'm going to be talking a little bit about my practicum experience, because some people did ask me, do I have to do clinicals for this program? So I don't have to do clinicals only until the last 16 weeks of the program, and I have to do a total of 144 hours, and it's split into 2 ways. So I have to have 2 preceptors. One is a nursing educator, and then another one is a direct care preceptor. So basically your direct care is someone like a nurse practitioner who works directly with patients, or a CNS, a clinical nurse specialist, who goes directly and work with patients and kind of assesses the patient. And so those are just examples of people who do direct care. And as a nurse educator, a lot of times you're not really doing direct care, you're focused on the education portion. And so even though I have to do a large amount of my hours with a nurse educator, I also have to do a small amount with also a direct care preceptor as well. So I have to select 2 preceptors on my own. I know the school can help you, but I felt it would probably be a lot easier and faster for me to just find one on my own. But the process did take quite a long time. They wanted us to find our preceptors like basically a year in advance. And so you have to be really proactive looking for preceptors on your own. Luckily, I had connections through my job, and one of my coworkers was able to help me out and locate a preceptor for me. But pretty much you're gonna have to do this on your own. And if you rely on the school, not that I went through them or anything like that, but I could feel like it might be a challenge for you if you don't find the right preceptor on time, because it could delay you doing your practicum experience. But other than that, that is the only clinical hours I ever had to do. I never had to go weekly to go to clinicals or anything like that. And so basically out of the 144, 48 of those hours is with a direct care preceptor. So like I mentioned, it could be a CNS or a nurse practitioner, but that is the only time I ever have to do any practicum experience / clinical experience. Other than that, I don't have to go weekly or anything like that. And so I really enjoyed that part, and it was cool because it did allow me to have a different perspective of what it'd be like to be a nurse educator. And I learned some things that were great about the nurse educator role, and then a few things that were not so great about the nurse educator role that I wasn't expecting. Like, for example, the research portion of it. And for me, that's something I don't mind doing, but it's not my favorite thing. But I think that's personally, to be honest, specific to the nurse educator that I followed, because every nurse educator has different roles and duties depending on the hospital that you work at. For some hospitals that I know, the nurse educator role is specific to the nurse educator, and they hire a separate CNS / clinical nurse specialist to do more of the research aspect and policy reviews. But the preceptor that I was following did both of those roles. And so it is probably not what a typical nurse educator would do, but I did see the aspects that she would do playing both roles. And it was a little bit challenging, I will say, having to do policy reviews and whatnot. But it was cool to be able to get that experience. But just know that some hospitals may combine the CNS and the nurse educator role together. And so that may happen for you. But currently where I work now, the roles are completely separated, and the nurse educator has their own role and the CNS has their own role, and so the roles are not combined. So it really honestly just depends on what hospital you end up working at. But yeah, and every hospital does things a little bit different too. So most of the time the nurse educator though is a full-time position, and you work just focused on education only. You do not do any bedside work or anything like that. But yeah, every hospital is a little bit different. So it really just depends. I think those are really all I could say about the pros and cons of my whole experience, but I think just a general summary of everything is that I truly enjoyed it. Honestly, I could redo this program 10 times over than go back to nursing school ever again. And so I could easily tell you that I had a great experience with this program, and I truly enjoyed it a lot, and I think it'll be very useful for what I want to do in the future. And kind of I want to end things off by kind of sharing where I am currently right now and kind of what my future goals is now that I finally finished. So right now I still work full-time. I am not doing a nurse educator role right now. If you watched my previous video where I talked about this, I did mention that this is going to be a future thing for me. It wasn't going to be something that I do immediately, but I'm still going to be dipping here and there in nurse educator role types of positions where I still want to be teaching education, but not in a full-time role yet. So that's kind of where I am right now with my career. So I think my first step into this role is that I'm actually going to be teaching NRP. So for those that do not know, NRP is the neonatal resuscitation program. You do not need to have a master's in order to teach this. Just so you know, if you do want to be an NRP instructor one day, you definitely do not need to have a master's in it. But I was lucky enough where when I did my practicum experience and followed my nurse educator preceptor, she was an NRP instructor and a mentor. And so she was actually able to sign me off. And now I'm fully certified to be able to teach NRP independently. So that's going to be my first dip into the toes of being able to teach. I mean, I also still already teach at my hospital already, but this is kind of like my first independent role, kind of on my own, not affiliated with my organization that I'm working at right now. And so this is going to be kind of my first step into education. And then my next steps is just hopefully finding more roles to teach in. I do want a nurse educator position in the future one day, a full-time position. And so that will possibly mean that I might leave bedside. For now, I am open to anything, and honestly, I'm kind of taking a break from doing rigorous educational work right now. I kind of just want to dip my toes in first, get a feel of what it's like to be an educator, and then hopefully one day when I am ready, then I want to jump into a full-time nurse educator role. But for now, I'm just going to be kind of dipping my toes here and there and kind of getting used to the feeling of being a teacher. So this is great because it's been my dream to be able to do both of my two favorite things, which is nursing and education. And the fact that I can do both now is really exciting. But I do want to clarify with everybody that you do not need to have your master's in order to do education in nursing. You can totally teach at your organization, and it does not require you to have a master's. And I was already doing that prior to me going back to school, but I knew that in the future that my passion is to teach, and so I did want to pursue this because I knew that that's something I wanted to do in the future as a permanent thing for me. And so right now I thought it would be the best time because I don't have financial responsibilities or family to take care of, but one day in the future that will probably be the case for me. And so I thought that this is the perfect time to that when I have a lot of time. And so this is why I ended up pursuing my master's. And so by the time you're watching this video, it will be close to my graduation, and I'm going to be going to Chicago where the school is based in, and I'm going to be doing my ceremony, and I'm also taking my family with me. So I will be having a vlog where I kind of share that experience with you guys. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video and kind of learned a little bit. And if you guys are considering pursuing the nurse educator role, definitely do a little bit of research to see what meets your needs. But I will also leave some more information about my program down in the description where I can share things in a little bit more detail with you guys if you are interested in pursuing this program. But I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. 'Cause anywhere you feels right, anywhere you feels like Paris in the rain, Paris in the rain.